to open up with a joke about how Internet Week is like Fashion Week without the attractive people. But then I was sitting there and I was like, oh, that doesn't work when Shira introduces you. That's it's not the right context. So my name's Ricky. Started collegehumor.com in 2000 out of my dorm room. Originally, College Humor was a repository for like pictures our friends would take, videos they would take, articles they would write. This is an original screenshot of the site. I designed it myself, no big deal. And as I was digging this up, I noticed that it says, attention parents of people over 32. This is college humor, not parent humor, which is a good reminder of what a smarmy dick I was. But this is the site now. We have over 10 million unique visitors a month, and we're really driven by original content. We started to focus on original content in 2006 after we were acquired by IAC because then we had the money to do it. And in hindsight, that turned out to be a really good move because 2006 was also the year where you could no longer compete just on user-generated content because it became commoditized with YouTube and Google Video and MySpace TV. So it turned out to be a good move in hindsight. So we produce 10 new videos a week, and we've established this kind of like old studio model where we have writers, directors, actors, DPs, everybody is in-house. And if you look at this chart here, we've expanded into other mediums. We have TV shows we do. We're working on films. We have a live tour. We do books. But the web always remains in the center because the web is what is persistent and interactive, and it's where our audience lives. And we've also built upon this and built upon that production methodology and started a production company called Notional, which does mainly TV. Some digital, but mainly TV. And with Notional, we've done things that we can't do with the College Humor brand. For example, we have a show on the Food Network called Chopped. Like, that wouldn't work as a College Humor show, but it can work as a Notional show. And I like to think of Notional as a production company with the DNA of an internet company, meaning, we do things scrappy, and we create things that we know will be buzzy. So I was going to get up here and talk about College Humor and Notional for a while, but last week, as I was kind of putting everything together, I got this email from a PR person, and I kind of decided to do something differently. Let me read you the email. This is a pitch. Hi, Ricky. I thought you might get a laugh out of the following video. Please let us know if you're interested in posting this on your website or including in a TV blog. I have no idea what a TV blog is. Thanks, Carly. This is the pitch. The Tonight Show and Jay Leno have taken a lot of flack this year. Now even a toe fungus product is stubbing, get it, the late night leader with their version of the show titled The Toe Night Show. The video is already receiving buzz on the internet, and I thought your readers would really enjoy it. The video was produced by Miranel, an anti-toe fungus product that hilariously figures into the show. Please let us know if you're interested in posting it on your site or running it as viral video of the week. Also, don't know what that is. Thanks so much, blah, blah, blah. And, she said it's already receiving a lot of buzz, 98 views, huge buzz. So I saw this video, and I was like, that's right. Like, we've been doing this, like, branded content game for 10 years, and still nobody really has a clue, like, how to make good branded content. So that's what I want to talk about today, basically what I've learned about that branded content game. And I'll talk mostly about that, but it also applies to all web content. It's the same kind of lessons about getting people to watch things and what works. And then also when I saw the price of the tickets, I was like, I better say something useful. So let's get into this. My presentation is called 10 Web Content Urban Legends. The first web content myth is that people will want to watch your branded content. And when you're making branded content, or any content, you have to ask yourself, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, why would anybody watch this? And if you can't come up with a good reason, don't make it. I think we have to be honest with ourselves that branded, there's a dichotomy between branded content and stuff people want to watch. Because you're starting off with a handicap. If you're competing against something that's goal is 100% to entertain, and your goal is 75% to entertain and 25% to sell a product, you're already, as I said, starting off with a handicap. And you're also competing with, now you're competing with TV shows. This isn't 2002 anymore, where just the novelty of having video on the internet is enough to sell it. You're competing with Lost. I mean, do you know how good Lost is? So you really have to think about, is this different enough to make people want to watch it? So how do we overcome this? Well, the first way is that brands need to be flexible. The more watered down and the more layers of legal and PR you have to go through, the more sterile it's going to be. The more rough edges are shaved off, and it's just going to be more generic. We had a video we did for a brand. I won't say the brand, but it was we did this series called Text Message Roulette. And basically, we went out to Union Square, and we had this big wheel that you would spin. And whatever you landed on, we got to text that phrase to whoever we wanted in your cell phone. And my favorite example was this girl had to text her uncle that she hadn't seen in years. Do you know where I can get meth? I'm not into it. My new boyfriend is. And so, like, that video, I'd watch that video online. That makes good web content. But we took it to the brand, and it just didn't pass their legal and PR test. So we did something worse. Another example of something that doesn't work. This is a video Bank of America did. This is Mo Rocca talking about banking. I don't know why people would watch this. Maybe if you were like in the back of a cab and you couldn't get the screen to go off, like you'd watch it. But I don't see why you would otherwise. This is something that did work. This is a video we did actually for Trojan. And Trojan called us like 2 weeks before Christmas, and they were like, we have research that says a lot of people use condoms over the holidays, and we'd like to do a video to remind people about Trojan. So we did this video where Rudolph got an STD the night before Christmas, and it did really well because it's something that you can't find on TV, and it's something that's kind of edgy and different. So how do you overcome this if you're an advertiser? Well, one thing you can do is seed unsponsored series of the episodes, and then slowly later, tell people that it's sponsored. I think Sierra Mist did this with a cartoon they did a while ago. Or you could have the fact that it's sponsored be a surprise at the end of the first episode. There's something that JCPenney did that was actually really good called The Doghouse, which is about guys who, get in fights with their wives, and they all go to the same place. And you didn't know it was for JCPenney until the very end, and it worked out well. The second myth is that people will be patient with content. This slide right here is really scary. I mean, this basically says that 35% of your audience is gone after the first 30 seconds. You really just can't make people sit there and watch stuff. And I think one thing that a lot of web video producers forget is that there's a big difference between someone watching a web video and someone watching TV. Watching TV is a passive activity. You're on your couch, you're relaxed, you're taking things in. Watching a web video, you have IM windows, you have Facebook notifications, everything's going. You're competing against a lot. And then also, a third of all internet activity occurs while the person is watching TV as well. So not only are you competing with what's on the computer screen, you're also competing with a whole nother screen showing full video the whole time. So what can you do to combat this? One thing you could do is take down any barriers to accessing your content. And the second thing is to just get to the point. And I'll talk about this a little later when I talk about what makes a good web video. The third myth is that people will find your content. And I see a lot of companies get swept up in viral video fever, where it's like, all right, all we have to do is make it and post it somewhere, and people will find it, and it'll take off. And I mean, that's basically faith-based marketing. I've also heard the strategy of there are so many different video sharing platforms. We'll just put it on every single one, and it'll add up. It'll accumulate. But really 95% of your views are going to come from YouTube anyway, and 0 times 100 is still 0. So that strategy really doesn't work. The internet isn't like TV where you can just buy an infomercial and people will flip, just flip channels and see it. You have to specifically be sent to something. So how do you overcome this? One, you can have, does this work? No? Weird. Aha. Whoa. All right. Let's back up. There we go. All right. You can have a strong seeding strategy to give the video an initial push. And you'll know, like, if a video has, like, 50,000 views that you've kind of sent to it, and it hasn't taken off, it's probably wasn't meant to be viral. The second thing you could do is team up with an established brand or platform, and that helps because with that you also get that brand's Twitter followers and Facebook fans and any dig accounts that might love stuff on that site already, or it could be a combination of both. You could team up and do co-branded ads with the entity to drive traffic, that sort of thing. Fourth myth is that the internet is a level playing field, and for big commercial destinations, they're definitely not a level playing field. A link on Drudge Report is obviously going to send a lot more traffic than some kid's blog. But a common fallacy that I see is that social media levels the playing field. But it's not true because of the way those sites are used, with subscribers and followers. So, for example, if there's a girl who has 50,000 Twitter followers, she obviously has more power than somebody with 200 followers. College Humor's YouTube channel, we're the number 11 channel on YouTube. We have about 1 million subscribers. So, I mean, we could put static into that channel, and it would still get a couple 100,000 views. We're not going to do it, but we know that once we put something out, we have that followership, and it'll get seen. So, if you're a content creator or marketer, how can you take advantage of that? Well, one thing you can do is realize that there are power users. A lot of times when I see a brand create a new video series, they'll just start a fresh YouTube channel or something like that and start off with 0 followers instead of teaming up with someone who already has that built-in user base. Fifth myth is that we have no idea why things go viral. And I'll be the first to admit there are no rules for making a viral video. And if you try to find something popular and dissect it, it's not going to work. But there is one commonality between all viral videos, and that's that the video gives the user a reason to pass it on. And that really ties into identity creation. When someone passes along a video, they're saying something about themselves. Is it that they're saying, I'm cultured, or I'm in the know because I found this? Or will it make them look like they have a clever sense of humor? Or is it just cool? I mean, that Nike spot that just came out, the Rewrite History, I think it was called, or Write the Future, that was just spectacle. I mean, we have a phrase around the office, viral is spectacle. If you can make something that cool, people will pass it along. So when you're making a video, don't concentrate on the video itself as much as the person watching it. And make sure they have a reason to pass it on. So College Humor's approach, these are commonalities among most of our videos. For one, we have a hit strategy. We have a hit strategy, which means we only shoot for 9s and 10s. On the internet, 5s and 6s don't really matter. Nobody goes to the 30-second page of Dig to see what was number 220 video of the day. And it also means, we're not a cable network where we just make programming to fill airtime. We also find that, the shorter the better, 2 to 3 minutes usually works. The hook should come within the first 20 seconds. That ties into people's short attention spans. And also, there are certain sweet spots that we found work really well with web video. One is stuff that's topical, since the web is so, of the moment. And the other thing that we found works really well is something we call candy corn. And candy corn, you could say it's a cousin of nostalgia. It's basically a cultural touchstone that everybody knows, but nobody really actively thinks about, much like candy corn itself. I'm sure everyone in this room knows what candy corn is, but no one thought about it or ate it today, I'm guessing. So I'll show you a video that shows what candy corn is. This is a video we made called Font Conference. And it did really well for us, and you watch it, and you're like, oh, I remember that. So I'll play that now.
Welcome back, fonts. I see some familiar typefaces and a few new ones. Today we'll decide whether or not to offer membership to Zaf Dingbats.
Oh, wingdings was bad enough. I'm sick of pandering to these artsy farts.
You should really expand your worldview, Ariel Nero.
How do you think he treats me all the time?
I agree. We must preserve our culture, not have it be bastardized by these childish cartoons.
Nein, bring die Freundschaft, das Pärchen und der Regenbogen.
You're right. I'm sorry. Here, take my seat.
Let's weigh the pros and cons. Baskerville Old Face?
When I was just a 4-point, a font was a font. Letters were good enough for us, not these damn doodlies. I won't stand for it.
You won't stand for it.
No,
You can't stand for it, you shriveled bastard. You'd probably break a leg.
Oh, hey!
What do you think, White Latin?
But I think it's poppycock. Our charge is to illustrate ideas, reason, and logic. Here.
I come to you from the year 2094 with important news.
We must act quickly to avoid disaster.
Not now, Futura. We have to reach a decision before...
Hello, Fonts. Ransom. What are you doing here? Come on, get with the times, New Roman. I know your system like the back of Lucy's hand. Just ask your friend, Courier.
What have you done?
Don't worry. His daughter's keeping him company. Say hi to the nice men, Curls MT. If you ever want to see them again, I want primary placement in every Word, Notepad, Photoshop, and Final Draft document. As well as Microsoft Works.
You're insane! Nobody uses Microsoft Works.
You have 2 minutes. For every minute after that, Courier and Curls MT will lose one of their serves.
I tried to warn you.
You know, if you think about it, is losing Courier that big a deal? I mean, eh?
You all deserve this for conforming. I'm in a room full of sheep.
I can't wait for you to grow out of this.
Wingdings? Pencil, telephone, hourglass, diamonds, candle, candle, flag.
Guards, get him out of here.
Mouse, scissors, bomb, mailbox, mailbox, mailbox. The time is up, Fonts. Now, which one of you do we make sans serif?
Not so fast, Ransom.
Comic Sans.
Comic Sans, the boldest of them all. I hate you so much.
Thank you, Comic Sans.
Farewell, citizens.
Airplane 8-ball, yin-yang glasses, mailbox, open mailbox.
So that's, oh, thank you. So the sixth myth is that experience leads documentation. And this ties in a little bit to my past point about identity creation. I want you to look at this photo here. So this was taken at the youth ball on inauguration night. And one thing that you should notice about this photo is that every kid in the audience isn't looking at the president and the first lady. They're looking at the back of their camera or the back of their camera phone. And I think what this means is that we have a new generation that puts documentation above experience. And I've talked to a lot of people about this photo, and people have different opinions. Like some people say, you know, the kids are missing the moment. Other people say, well, they're creating a memory. But wherever you come down on this, I think it's indicative of that trend of people putting documentation in front of experience. So whereas a previous generation, you know, somebody would go to the school dance and then they'd take a photo of it at the dance and they'd have that photo. I think now we're going to have a generation where a girl will decide whether to go to the school dance based on how it will look on her Flickr feed or her Facebook status updates. And if you look at this slide right here, this is Julie Allison. I'm sure a lot of you know. You know, basically what we have here is social currency. You know, basically she's at New York Fashion Week. She's in the front row. There are girls all across the country that would pay to be able to tweet this out to their friends. It's basically high-tech bragging. My favorite type of high-tech bragging is the faux self-depreciating tweet, which is like, who am I to be here having dinner with Richard Branson? This is crazy. I'm nobody. I see those all the time. They're so annoying. So how do you use this to your advantage? Well, if you're a marketer, you can create experiences that allow people to show off how cool they are or how cool they think they are. Next myth is that you should build your own community and tools. And there's there's a lot of desire when people start making content to create a flashy walled garden around it. But it really doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because the web values simplicity and openness, and people still share things by copying and pasting URLs. So you don't want to limit the openness of your project. Something that didn't work was Bud TV. And one thing that, Bud TV, the videos weren't that bad, but the problem was you had to not only log in, but give your driver's license number. It was just a total mess. Something that I think worked really well was what Twix did. Basically, you just went to Twix.com and you were instantly playing this game. It was really open and really easy to share. Another critical mistake that I see a lot of marketers making and people who create content is that they try to build their own features. When really, if you want to allow people to share photos on your site or around your content, just use Facebook or just use Flickr. For College Humor, we used to have this system where you would press like, and it would just be recorded internally on the site. But now we have something, we integrated Facebook Connect. So when you like something, not only does it show on the site, but it gets blasted out to every single one of your Facebook friends. And that's huge. I mean, our site originally grew mainly because of AOL Instant Messenger, where people would put something in their away message, and it would go out to 200 people. Let's see. The next myth is that you should keep things professional. I see this a lot. People, and especially corporations, when they produce content, they don't really want to show the people behind the scenes involved in making it and running the site. But I found that actually works really well. I used to be scared that people would find out that College Humor was being run by people in an office in Manhattan. And once I got over that, it really helped the business because it gave the site personality and it made it sticky. And there's, online, there are a lot of people who might have, similar videos or people making videos, but the personality is what really is going to drive your brand. So I encourage our staff to take photos of themselves and post it along with the content, or take videos, and that's led to a lot of things. It led to an MTV show. It led to a new form of advertising we do, where we actually have our cast announce who sponsored the video in the pre-roll, and people actually want to watch those pre-rolls because they're characters and people that they're familiar with. The best example that I've seen of this is Perez Hilton. I mean, Perez Hilton is, for a while, just one guy, just one crazy guy. And now, now his site is huge. And if you look at that in comparison to Us Weekly, Us Weekly is official and thorough, but it didn't really matter because it turns out teenage girls just wanted to go where they were comfortable and familiar. The ninth myth is that traditional media is irrelevant to the web. And that's something you hear a lot in Web 2.0 circles, where it's like, oh, TV's over. I mean, it's all online. But that's not true, especially for content creators. Content creators are always looking to jump from the web to film or TV. And a lot of that's because film and TV is a working monetization model, whereas the web really isn't, at least for now. And you also have to remember the average American watches 151 hours of TV a month. I mean, that's crazy. So we can't forget about traditional media as it applies online. And sometimes the internet world forgets about star power and how important that is. And oftentimes it's that legitimacy that a piece of content will have that really helps fuel it. The Lonely Island guys made Lazy Sunday for SNL, and that's widely credited with breaking YouTube. And those guys were making videos before, and making great videos before, but until they had that stamp of approval that came with being on SNL, they just didn't blow up like Lazy Sunday did. The final myth is that people will create good content for you. And this is the biggest myth of all. Here's an example of something like that. Getting people to create content is hard, and getting people to create good content is really hard. There are some circumstances that work. Doritos, that works, but that's a Super Bowl commercial. It's different. We did something for Motorola recently where our users just had to write the video, and then we would actually make it. So all they had to do was have a half step. That worked. The best example of this point is the YouTube CNN presidential debates. That was on the biggest video platform of all, YouTube, and it was a chance to ask the future president of the US any question you wanted, and they got, from what I hear, 1,100 submissions. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, if they got 1,100 submissions, think what Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union is going to get for their contest. So knowing all of this, knowing these myths and knowing how to get by them and fix them, I'm really happy today to announce the creation of Sobe Studios. And Sobe Studios is a collaboration between College Humor and Pepsi. And College Humor serves as, I guess you could call it, Sobe's content agency, where we're constantly meeting with the awesome people over at Sobe and talking about what's going on with their marketing and initiatives and events, and build content around that to create a steady stream of content based around the Sobe brand. And Sobe's a great brand to do it with because, you know, they're willing to take risks and chances. And what I like about this is that it follows very strongly two of the rules that I pointed out. One, Pepsi's partnering with somebody with an established brand and platform and marketing team. And two, it's the producer and the brand working directly together to create something that, you know, you won't want to just like turn off in the back of a cab. So that's the gist. I think now I'm going to talk to Peter. Thank you.
They told me to sit here, so you have to sit there, I guess. Okay. Or the piano. Josh is not going to do the piano for us?
No, no piano.
Hey, Ricky.
Hey, how are you?
Thanks for having me. So you just talked a lot about web video.
Yep.
I want to talk to you about your day job, or the thing I think you spend most of your time on, which is Notional, which is making video for both TV and the web, right?
Yes.
So how much of what you just talked about there applies to making stuff for TV?
I think all of it, or most of it. The interesting thing when I got into TV and started talking with network executives, I realized that what works for the web is also badly needed in TV because the landscape is so cluttered.
People are making good TV, right? They're watching 150 hours a month, so people are happy with what they're seeing on TV now.
Yeah, but to compete in TV now, there's so many channels that it kind of requires this web mentality, where on the web you need a great title and you need to be buzzy to get people to see stuff. And you know, if you can't sum up your piece of content in one link, then no one's going to watch it. And there's so many channels now and so many shows and so much content that if you can't sum up your show on the side of a bus as it drives by, it's going to be really hard to get people to watch it. So we kind of take that mentality of creating things that are with great titles and buzzy and, you know, try to bring that to TV.
But if it's just a matter of giving something a high concept idea, right, that exists in TV. They've been doing that for a long time. It exists in movies too, right? The player is sort of a cliche about summing up your idea in 25 words or less. You could do it in a tweet or less. If it was just about naming shows
it's also execution. I think we've built up this, you know, this studio where we can create things cheap and make it look great, and we're bringing that to TV. So a lot of what we're doing is funding our own pilots. And that's something, you know, especially for a lot of the stuff we do, which is like, you know, big, shiny floor, deal or no deal kind of format, it's unheard of. But because we already have this working studio, we can say, all right, let's take 20 grand and shoot this half-hour pilot.
Same staff, same facilities you're using to make the stuff.
Exactly. So, I mean, we're shooting a pilot in our lobby, the IEC lobby. Luckily, we have the biggest HD screen in the world. That helps. But you know, we can just go down there and put the graphics up and get our crews and shoot something.
So during the first sort of internet boom, early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, there was an idea that a lot of the stuff from the web would sort of just make it onto mainstream media, would just port directly. Why doesn't that work? Why can't you just take the College Humor stuff and show it on TV?
Well, I think you can in some circumstances, but I think the web and TV are just different platforms. Like when you make content for the web, you should be using the utility of the web. You know, there are things the web can do that TV can't. You know, in terms of being interactive and being able to share things, and yeah.
So what have you ported beyond sort of just high concept ideas? Anything else specifically we should think about?
we have a concept that we're doing now where it's another idea where we're funding the pilot ourselves, and we're creating the show so it works on TV, but the segments themselves can be broken up and stand alone on the web. So that's where we're kind of doing the reverse of that. We're kind of starting with what's a TV show that we could make and sell around the world, and then also dissect it and put it online domestically if we can't get it on TV here.
So you're thinking practically about once the show gets on the air, how can we bring it back to the web?
Yeah, and also when you think about things like that and you can deficit your own stuff, you can retain a lot more rights. And that's what I've learned about TV going to, there's this thing called MIP in Cannes every year, and it's basically like the international marketplace for TV. And that's when I realized, like, oh, there's a whole nother world out there where you can really bring in scalability. And I remember I was walking around the trade floor, and there was somebody who was like, I have 40 hours of footage of wolves. And you're like, all right, I guess this is like a thing. You know, it's like a commodities market. So if you can create something that can be sold around the world, that's where you can. I mean, that's where a lot of the money is. Like you look at something like Cash Cab. Cash Cab is a very simple idea, and the clips could also work on the web, but that's been sold in like hundreds of territories and made hundreds of millions of dollars.
So you're working for Barry Diller, who in this world is the guy who runs IAC and ASS and College Humor. And then for people over 40, he's Barry Diller, who sort of made a lot of what we consider to be TV today, Fox, et cetera. What has he taught you about sort of what you're trying to do?
One thing recently that I didn't even think about, and he really got into my head, was the idea of content having second acts. And the example he used was Wild and Crazy Guys from SNL back in the day. And he said, you know, those were two great characters, but that's kind of where it stopped. And that made me think about our own content. Jake and Amir is one of our most popular series. And Jake and Amir are fantastic characters.
And they are getting their own show, right? Or did they get their own show, or it might happen?
We're working on something, but that's where it comes in. Jake and Amir, just the characters aren't in themselves a show, but Jake and Amir in the army, or Jake and Amir and a baby, like those are actual. You could make that a sitcom. So I mean, he's the best mentor you could ever have because he pushes you and he's tough on you, but he's really he's interested in entertainment. I mean, it's like you can almost like tell in his body language, like when you're talking about creative ideas, like he's just very receptive and into it and loves giving input.
And are there times when he's disinterested and doesn't want to hear what you have to say?
Well, you can tell, especially when it's something creative and a cool idea. He's very into
More engaged.
More engaged. Always engaged, but I'm not gonna say my boss is ever unengaged.
So you guys have tried the web to TV thing at least once before. You had an MTV show. Mm-hmm. You shot it in your old office off of Union Square. Yep. How'd that go, and what'd you learn there?
It went well. We learned a lot about how to deal with a network. We had never done any TV before that, and the ratings were decent, and it brought on a whole new audience. We now have 13 to 16-year-old girls who show up at our live shows with like College Humor T-shirts or like Jake and Amir T-shirts, and so it also brought on a whole new audience.
I mean, did you think, well, we'll just take what we're doing on the web and we'll just make that the TV show that already works well on the web?
It went through a bunch of iterations, and another thing we learned is that when you're dealing with a network, you have your idea and then they have their idea, and you go back and forth, and it's collaborative. So originally, I think it was just how do we port these sketches to TV, and then we shot this like connective tissue, these wraparounds, and when they focus grouped it, the focus groups were like, we want to see more of these people in this office, which goes back to the point I made earlier about wanting to, like, kids now valuing authenticity and wanting to see the people that are actually making the content. And so that's when we added more of us in the office.
I think I read there was an article about that filming when it came out, and there was talked to someone on your staff / crew / cast, and they said, well, it's great to be on College Humor, but it's really great to be on MTV because that's TV.
Yeah.
Right? And this is someone, obviously, in their early 20s, grew up basically on the web. Theoretically, these are the people who you would think would say, well, the web is what I spend all my time on. That's what I watch. That is entertainment. I don't really care whether or not it's on TV. but clearly we're not there yet. Do you think we'll ever get there?
I think we'll get there. I mean, I think it's inevitable when everything merges. But right now, TV is I think the primary purpose of TV networks for me is to serve as a filter, to say, you know, you can see something terrible on the web, but you're never going to turn on CBS and see something that's just unwatchable, you know? And so I think that's its primary purpose. It's like a filter and a stamp of approval.
But also there's a difference in the way that you sort of watch, right? There's a higher standard right on TV because you're gonna hang on to the. It's a difference. One is the standard, and one is just your behavior, right? You're less likely to click away than when you are leaning into your screen. And what else will?
And also, I think it ties, you know, fundamentally it ties back into funding. You know, TV shows have a lot more money to use, and they can get better talent, and they can get better sets, and pay a lot more for production and story. So, you know, fundamentally, until everything merges, TV is going to be better funded and look better.
And again, you touched on that just now and a second ago about sort of saying the web really still isn't profitable as an entertainment medium. We've talked about that a few times. Obviously, you've got big advertisers on board on the web. They get it.
We're profitable. What I mean by that is it's not. There's not this consistent flow of money to fund projects. So on the web, everything needs to be pre-sold, right?
You won't shoot a video until you've got an advertiser on board, generally.
For a site like ours, where we do have this, you know, we know that there's traffic, we'll produce a steady stream. But for most content producers, you have to sell an advertiser before you make it. Right. And that's really tough to do. And
you're seeing some of that on TV now, right? Some and movies as well. Some sponsors are on board from the beginning, but generally they're sort of doing the stuff on spec.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing a lot at College Humor and Notional, and we're teamed up with Ben Silverman. And when you can bring in an advertiser early, you can go to a network and like I said earlier, retain more rights, but also have more control of the creative and also just kind of have more leverage when you can go and say, all right, we have this brand attached, and they'll fund the pilot, and they'll buy, you know, a percentage of the airtime incremental to what your sales team has already sold. That's a great position to go to a TV network with, rather than just like, here's an idea.
Mm-hmm. And when you're out, I mean, do you talk a bit about the difference between the way you think advertisers see TV and the web, because there still is a big schism.
Yeah, I think it's both on the selling side, selling to an advertiser, and getting viewers to watch it. TV and legitimacy help. We're doing this project now with Will Arnett and Jason Bateman. And we're producing videos.
It's got a great name, right? What's the name?
Dum Dum is the name,
awesome.
Which is what they call each other on set, which I think is great. And so when we go to an advertiser with Will and Jason, you know, there's a lot of, you know, instead of the, you know, third in command, you get the top person at the company.
Because you're bringing a guy from TV.
Yeah, because it's a cool experience. And I mean, I'd want to do the same thing if you know, TV stars I really admired and thought were funny were coming to the office, I'd want to meet them too. And so, but not only does it help on there, it helps getting seen. So when you post it online, you can say, Will Arnett and Jason Bateman's new thing, and it'll get a lot of traffic. We kind of know, you know, people are going to want to see what these guys are up to because they're familiar with them from TV.
You look out on the web, you're sort of tracking competitors, people who are doing stuff like you do. Who do you think is doing a great job? Who are you impressed by?
I think The Onion has been doing a great job for, you know, as long as they've been alive.
And they're now going to TV.
Yeah, they have 2 shows that they're doing. I think one on Comedy Central, one on IFC. But lately with the Onion News Network, that's just really funny stuff. I think Funny or Die is doing some really good stuff there. You know, they're in LA. They do a lot with celebrities, and
the rap on them is when it's not a Will Ferrell video, there's not really an audience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know their internal numbers, but I'd imagine that they spike when they have you know, a big star attached.
And you're not just strictly limited to humor stuff, right? You're doing game shows. Chopped is I guess a game show. Are there genres that you just don't think you're qualified to take on, or you're not ready to try yet?
Well, the good thing is I have people smarter than me that can. So we're doing a show about weddings, and like I'm not getting married anytime soon. I don't know much about weddings, but I have somebody who can create that show and beat out every segment. And so I'm down to tackle anything.
What's your fantasy show? What's the one thing you want to get on the air?
We have this big like action game show that I can't give out too much detail about, but it's kind of Wipeout on methamphetamines. And so
there's a meth sort of undercurrent to this talk.
A lot of meth.
All right, well, I think that's your headline.
Yeah. So it'd probably be that one.
And we may actually see it on the air.
Yeah, I think so. But,
right.
Yeah.
Good. I've been told no Q&A, but this is social media. If anyone wants to yell a question out, Ricky will try answering it. Anyone? Wow, mute. All right, Ricky, let's go.
Cool. Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Good job.
I have the power here.